feminist movement. So what we will do now is we'll first understand what is feminist movement. Then we will try to understand the different phases of feminism. What are the different waves of feminism? First wave, second wave, third wave. Apart from that, we will also look at some of the variants of feminism. So all these things we will try to understand can be important from our exam perspective. Because again, in last couple of years, Me Too was in the news. Feminism has always been in the news. So we can get questions from this part, both in paper 1 as well as paper 2. So the first thing, what do we mean by feminist movement? Feminist movement refers to a political, economic and cultural movement. So it has multiple dimensions. There is a political dimension to it, there is an economic dimension to it, there is also a cultural dimension. Now, for example, what can be the cultural dimension or let's say economic dimension? Economic dimension, one example. Now, in our society, in the markets, for example, women might not be getting equal wages as compared to their male counterparts for the same work they are doing. So the feminist movement will try to assure equal wages for equal work for both men and women. So this is the economic dimension of the feminist movement, or one example of the economic dimension of the feminist movement. Similarly, one example of political dimension of feminist movement. Now, our political structures might be such that women are not able to access different positions of power. In case of India, for example, you will find more members of parliament who are men, less women members of parliament. So here also there exists an inequality. Now, feminist movement will try to ensure equality along these dimensions. When it comes to culture, there also women have been subjugated. Feminist movement will try to provide them equal space when it comes to the cultural dimensions. So feminist movement has all these dimensions: political, economic, cultural dimension. And what it is trying to do? It is trying to establish equal rights and legal protection for women. So women should have equal political rights, they should have equal cultural rights, they should have equal economic rights as compared to their male counterparts. And feminist movement also involves theories, philosophies. So this is also part of the movement. So you are creating different theories, philosophies, you are understanding why there is inequality, what can be done to reduce this inequality, what can be done to provide them equal space. Now, feminist movement has emerged through different phases. It has evolved through different phases. It did not happen in one go. So we'll try to understand how it has evolved over a period of time. So these phases are generally referred to as waves. First wave of feminism, second wave of feminism, third wave of feminism. So what was the first wave of feminism? What were the issues taken up? Which were the countries which were impacted by the first wave of feminism? Now, first wave of feminism, it emerged in the late 19th century and in the early 20th century in the United Kingdom and the United States. Now, what were the issues that were taken up? What were the issues that were highlighted? First thing, you are trying to promote equal contract and property rights for women. Women did not have equal property rights, they did not have equal contractual rights. Now that is being promoted. Apart from that, there is opposition to chattel marriage. Now, what is the meaning of chattel marriage? Now, it is that system in which if a man gets married to a woman, then the woman becomes the property of the man. The wife is basically the property of the husband, and their legal offsprings, they are also the property of the man. So there is an opposition to it. Now, when you are considering the wife as the property of the husband, you are denying women's agency. Women cannot take decisions on their own behalf. They do not have those rights. So this kind of marriage, in which the husband is considered to be the owner of his wife and the children who are born to that union, that kind of marriage is being opposed. That kind of marriage is called chattel marriage, and it is opposed. By the end of 19th century, the focus is now on gaining political power, voting rights for women. So that is now the focus. Apart from that, apart from all these things, opposition to chattel marriage, property rights, gaining political power, there were some feminists, for example, Voltaire, Claire and Margaret Sanger, they were also demanding women's sexual, reproductive and economic rights. Women should have rights over their own body. They should have equal reproductive rights. They should have a say in the reproductive process. They should decide whether they should have a say whether they should have children or not. So those kind of things also became important, and the feminists who took up these kind of issues, they were Clara and Sanger. Now, if we look at Britain and US, how the first wave of feminist movement is impacting these countries, or what were the things that were taken up. In Britain, women, feminists, they're demanding a right to vote. So accordingly, Representation of People Act 1918 was passed. But this particular law, what it is trying to do, it is giving voting rights to women. But here, not all women are getting voting rights. Only those women who are over the age of 30 and who themselves own houses, they were given the right to vote. But gradually, all women who are above a specific age are given the right to vote. This ownership clause, ownership of house, ownership of property, that is gradually removed. But initially, only those who owned houses were given the right to vote. What is happening in United States? In US, there was a campaign to abolish slavery. So first there is a campaign to abolish slavery, and after that there is a demand for women's right to vote. And they were influenced by Quaker thought, religious freedom movement, so they were influenced by these ideas. And the feminist movement in US involved a wide range of women. Women from multiple backgrounds, they were part of it. And the first wave of feminism in the United States is said to have ended in 1990. So this is the first wave of feminism. What were the issues taken up? Which were the countries which were impacted by it? So property rights, contractual rights, equality in that is being demanded. Opposition to chattel marriage, the husband should not have ownership over the wife. Sexual reproductive rights, they were also one of the focus areas. Apart from that, political rights. Women should have the right to vote. These were the changes that the first wave of feminism brought out. Now, second wave of feminism, it is emerging in the early 60s, 1960s, and it is continuing till late 1980s. Also, during this phase, we observe that some of the issues of first wave of feminism, they're also continuing right now. So continuation of early phases, the first phase of feminism is happening. Apart from that, from this emerges the third wave of feminism. So coexistence with third wave of feminism, the next phase. So that is also happening. So second wave of feminism, it overlaps with the first wave and also with the third wave. Now, second wave of feminism is concerned with issues of equality. And during this phase, some prominent works by certain authors came up. Now we will try to analyze what were these works, what are they trying to do. First work by Carol Hanisch, The Personal is Political. Now this particular work by Carol Hanisch, it says that the power structures that exist in our state, in our society, they are sexist in nature. The power structures. Now, since the power structures are sexist, that means they are preferring one sex over the other. They are preferring the male sex over the female sex. So, since the power structures are biased in favor of men against women, it is impacting the lives of women. So, women's personal lives are getting impacted by the sexist power structures. Cultural inequality, political inequality, they are all linked together. This is also another major inference from this book. So power structures, political inequality, cultural inequality, all are linked together. Another major work during this period, Simone de Beauvoir, the work was The Second Sex. Now this particular work is trying to go deeper. It is trying to understand women's oppression. Why women are oppressed. Now, this work is saying that in the society, men are considered to be the ideal. Women have always been considered to be deviant and abnormal. So, men are ideal, women are not ideal. So, they are deviant, they are abnormal. This particular book, it has one statement. One is not born as a woman, but becomes one. So there is a kind of social construction of woman. A woman has to behave in a particular manner. So society decides how she has to behave. And she is considered to be abnormal. And this particular social construction is fundamental to women's operation. Women are considered deviant, they are considered abnormal. They have to strive to be like this, like men. Men are considered to be ideal. So society does not recognize both of them equally. It does not recognize both of them as equal, both of them as normal. Women are considered to be abnormal from the very beginning. So if you have to ensure equality, if you have to move forward, this kind of attitude needs to be set aside. So this is what the second sex talks about. The first sex is the male sex. They are the ideal, women are not the ideal, as per the society. So social construction of women as the other is most fundamental to the operation that women face. Apart from these two major works, the personal is political and the second sex. Another major work during this period was The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Now, this particular work says that in the society, it is assumed that women can find fulfillment through childbearing and homemaking. In fact, this is the only way by which they can find fulfillment. That means it is the responsibility, it's the duty of the women to ensure these works. It is their work. Childbearing and homemaking is their work, their activity, their duty. And their life purpose can be fulfilled through this. Betty Friedan is criticizing this. She says that this particular notion is wrong. This segregation of work, this is what is referred to as the sexual division of labor. You are dividing the work in the society on the basis of sex. And you are trying to legitimize it. You are saying that women can find fulfillment only through this. So Betty Friedan is criticizing this. Now, this particular work, The Feminine Mystique, is igniting different kind of women's movement in 1960s, 1963. And it is leading to a transformation in the social fabric in countries like US and some other countries as well. Now, Betty Friedan is saying that we are all victims of a false belief system. This particular belief system is such that it requires women to find identity and meaning through their husbands and children. Women do not have an identity in itself. It is through homemaking and child rearing that they can find their own identity. And in this process, what happens? Women lose their own identity in this process. So you are assuming that the only work of women is this child rearing and homemaking. They are the ones who are responsible for this, and only if they are able to carry these particular activities with elan, then only they will find their identity, their true self. So in this process, their own identity, the reflection of their identity gets lost. So this is what Feminine Mystique talks about, and she studies different communities, different societies, different post-World War II suburban communities, and she finds this thing. This thing is what is happening. And after the World War, there is an economic boom. New technologies are being developed, and because of this development of new technologies, child rearing and other homemaking activities become simpler. Different kind of appliances, electronic appliances come into being. So these kind of appliances replaced human labor, and this labor was basically carried out by women within the household. Now, what can happen because of this? Maybe women's position in the family will improve because she does not have to take care of all these activities. Maybe she will participate outside now. But Betty Friedan feels that because of this new technology, now women's role within the family is further decreasing, because previously these activities were given some recognition, And since these activities were recognized, the person who was carrying out these activities was also given some recognition. But now, since these activities are being carried out by technology, so her own identity gets minimized, gets reduced. So women's work is losing its meaning. It is becoming even less valuable with emergence of new technology. So this is what Betty Friedan talks about in Feminine Mystique. So criticizes the notion that women can find fulfillment only through child rearing and homemaking activities. Now the third wave of feminism is emerging in the mid 1980s, early 1990s. It is continuing till this point. Now, third wave of feminism is emerging as a consequence or because of the perceived failures of the second wave of feminism. There were backlash against many of the initiatives of the second wave of feminism. Now, it was felt that second wave of feminism, it is trying to decide what is good or what is not good for women. And this generalizing tendency is on the basis of the experience of only the upper or middle class white women. So you are basically deciding what is good or bad for everyone on the basis of experiences of only a certain category. So there was an overemphasis on the experience of a certain category of women, and there is a backlash against this. Third wave of feminism is more inclusive. It celebrates different kind of individual identities and the different kind of contradictions that are there, that is also being recognized by the third wave of feminism. For example, there have been internal conflicts among the third wave feminists as well. For example, there will be some feminists in this particular time who will say that there exist important differences between the two sexes. Since there are important differences between two sexes, there are biological differences, and they feel because of these biological differences, the roles that they take up in the society are different. Gendered roles are there. The jobs might be different. In the domestic sphere, they have to take up different roles. So some group of feminists, they also have this point of view. But at the same time, there will be some other feminists in this phase who say that there are no inherent differences between the sexes. And they feel that the different roles that are allocated to women, it is just because of social conditioning. The society has decided, the prominent members of the society or the culture of the society, they have played a very important role in saying that you are female, you should take up these roles. Child rearing or homemaking, this is the task that you have to do, and men should go out and work. So these internal debates are also part of the third wave of feminism. It celebrates individual identities. It gives that freedom to define women who they are. So this is something different in the third wave of feminism. Internal conflicts are also recognized. Now, apart from these three waves of feminism, another term or another kind of trend is also observed, and this is referred to as post-feminism. This particular term, post-feminism, a prefix is added to feminism, post-feminism. Now, what is the meaning of post-feminism? Post-feminism is emerging in 1980s. First time we are using the term. And post-feminism, it encompasses, or it is a collection of all the theories which are basically critical approaches to the previous feminist discourses. So we have these waves, first wave, second wave, third wave. So post-feminism includes all the approaches which are critical to this feminist discourses, and primarily to the second wave feminism, because it feels that the second wave of feminism, it's more of a monolithic entity, and it has a lot of generalizations on the basis of the experience of the upper middle class white women. There are some post-feminists who believe that feminism is no longer relevant in today's society. We don't need feminism. That is what some post-feminists believe. Not everyone believes that. Apart from that, some post-feminists, they feel that Women should be recognized as people. Women are just any other people. Which considers women and men as different, male and female as different. This particular view they feel is sexist rather than feminist. So women should be considered as just any other people. So post-feminists believe in these things. Or when we say post-feminism, it refers to all these things. Women should be considered as people. Some post-feminists feel that feminism is no longer relevant. Some post-feminism believes that, or it includes all the theories which are critical of feminism. But there is also a criticism to post-feminism. For example, thinker like Angela McRobbie, they say that whenever you are adding the prefix post to feminism, you're inherently assuming that women have achieved equality. So the assumption with post-feminist is equality has been achieved and now feminists can focus on something else entirely. But which is not the case. Equality has not been achieved completely. So this is the meaning of post-feminism and this is the criticism by Angela McRobbie. Apart from this term post-feminism, what we will do is we will try to look at some different forms of feminism which are sometimes in the news. It will help us understand feminism in details. We will be able to understand what are the different forms of feminism. Now, one term, keep in mind, French feminism. Now, this particular term, French feminism, or this kind of trend, it is a branch of feminist thought and it is emerging in 70s, continues till 90s. Now, French feminism refers to different kind of works related to feminism in the field of philosophy, literature, and it is more metaphorical in nature. It is less of a political doctrine. So, French feminism, it tries to create a body of theories related to feminism. Less of political action, political doctrine, more of philosophy, more of literature. So that is referred to as French feminism, 70s to 90s. So another form of feminism is anarcha-feminism. Now what do we mean by anarcha-feminism? Anarcha-feminism means anarchism with feminism. Anarchism, this particular term you might have heard, it has been there in the news whenever politicians sit on dharna. Politicians who are part of the government and who are sitting in dharna, this particular term is used. Now what is the meaning of anarchism? Anarchism is that political philosophy which does not believe in government. It believes in organization of society on the basis of some voluntary action. So you do not believe in government, but you believe that the society can be organized in a voluntary manner. It can be organized in a cooperative manner without using any force or compulsion. So that is the meaning of anarchism. So anarchism, feminism, it feels that patriarchy exists in the society and this patriarchal structure that we have is a manifestation of coercive, involuntary hierarchy. Anarchism, society must be organized on the voluntary basis. Patriarchy, it is a coercive, involuntary hierarchy. So it needs to be dismantled. It needs to be replaced by a decentralized free association. So anarchism, feminism wants to organize society in a decentralized free manner. There should not be any force, there should not be any compulsion. You have to throw away patriarchy. So this is what is anarchism, feminism. Now, socialist, Marxist feminism. What do we mean by this? Now, socialist, Marxist perspective, it tries to connect oppression of women to Marxist ideas of exploitation, oppression and labor. Now, this perspective believes that women do not have equal standing both at workplace and domestic sphere. Women and men, they are not treated equally both in domestic as well as workplace. For example, what kind of work women have to take up? Women are forced into prostitution. In domestic sphere also they have to carry out specific work which men don't have to carry out. Women are forced into slavery. So men and women, they have different standing at workplace and in the domestic sphere. And this particular standing of women in these two spheres is the reason why women are let down, why women have always been subjugated. So indirectly what you are trying to say is the system is patriarchal and it devalues women. So this kind of system, this entire society, what the structure of the society needs to be changed, then only women will be at par with men. So the problem is with the structure of the society. So keep this in mind. Socialist Marxist perspective talks about the entire system. The system is at fault. This thing has to be taken care of. So you need to focus your energies on broad changes that affect the society as a whole. So individual level change cannot change these things. The upliftment of one woman will not change the entire thing. You have to bring broad-based change throughout society. So for bringing this kind of change, different elements of society have to be taken into confidence, or you have to bring about change at all the levels. There has to be change among men and there has to be change among different groups. So the entire social structures need to be changed. So socialist Marxist perspective, it believes that oppression of women is part of the larger pattern that affects everyone involved in the capitalistic system. If you change the system, things will change. But these perspectives have also been criticized. Now, Marx felt that class oppression, if it is overcome, gender oppression will also be overcome. So if class oppression is overcome, automatically the issues that women face will be overcome. But later day thinkers, they've criticized this. They feel that it is quite naive. Class oppression might be overcome, but not necessarily gender oppression will be overcome. So socialist Marxist perspective feels that you have to bring about change in the entire society. The social structures are such, the social system is such, which has devalued women, which has not given men and women equal standing, and because of that women have always been left behind. So this is socialist Marxist perspective. Another form of feminism, radical feminism. Now, radical feminism believes that in the society it is the men who hold power. It is the men who have authority. So since it is the men who have authority, it is the men who hold power, there is always oppression, there is always inequality. Oppression is faced by women and there is always inequality. So they feel that there is no alternative to this kind of system apart from uprooting the entire system and reconstructing it. So total uprooting of the present social structures, power structures has to happen, and then you can reconstruct society. Apart from that, there is no other solution to it. So dramatic social change is required or to bring women to the equal footing. Now, the radical feminists, again, among the radical feminists also there are different stands of thoughts. Some are cultural feminists. They believe that the difference between men and women has been created. They feel that the difference between men and women has been created culturally, it has been created psychologically. The difference is not inherent, it is not biological. The different men and women, when they are born, male and female, so they have different organs, they have different genetic makeup. But the difference that you see in the power structures, this is not because of the biological difference. The difference has been created over a period of time, and all these things have been constructed culturally. The culture says that men have to do this, women cannot do this, women are not allowed to do this. For example, women are not allowed to enter temples among some communities. So cultural feminists believe that these differences that has been created culturally. Some other radical feminists belong to what is referred to as the separatist feminist point of view. Now, separatist feminists, they believe that men and women need to maintain separate institutions and relationships. Separate is the root word here. Now, what do we mean by this separatist feminism? Now, separatist feminists, they believe that there should not be heterosexual relationships. That means men and women should not work in the same organizations. Men should work in organizations only for men. Women should work in separate organizations. They should not work together. If they're working together, then men will dominate women. They do not feel that men can make positive contributions to the feminist movement. A male might have good intentions, but he is also conditioned by the society. So indirectly what will happen is the patriarchal dynamics will again be reinforced. He has good intentions, but he does not know. He has been conditioned in such a manner that he will reinforce the patriarchy which exists in the larger society. So to ensure women have equality, or to ensure upliftment of women, you have to maintain, or you have to have separate institutions. You cannot work in same institutions. So they are the ones who say that we need to have separate institutions. There should not be any heterosexual relationships. But again, it is one of the radical view. So radical feminists, some of them belong to this school of thought. Apart from radical feminism, another strand of thought is liberal feminism. Now, we understood the socialist Marxist feminism perspective, we understood the radical perspective. Liberal perspective is little different. Socialist Marxist perspective, it said that the standing of women in workplace, in domestic sphere is not at par with men. That is the reason they are down. The radical perspective is saying that men are controlling the power structures, they have the authority, women do not have. That is the reason women are down, or women are let down. So for changing things, you have to bring about change in the entire society, you have to bring about change in the entire system. Radical feels that we have to completely uproot the system and we have to reconstruct a new system. Socialist Marxist perspective, they are saying that we have to change the system, we have to take different elements of the society together, we also have to take men and other groups. Now, liberal feminism, it does not believe that we need to change the entire system. It says that we can focus on individuals. So, individualistic emphasis on equality is there. They feel that there can be changes in law, there can be changes in policy, and with the help of the laws, with the help of policies, we can bring about change. We don't need to alter the structure of the entire society. This thing is not required. What we can do is we have to bring about laws and policies which will increase opportunities for women. If opportunities for women increases, greater participation of women will be there in different spheres. So that is what needs to be done, rather than bringing about change in the social structures. And it assumes, it believes that women have the capability to assert their ability. Women are able in themselves. What is the problem here is they do not have sufficient opportunities. So if opportunities come up, women are capable, they are able, so they can fill up these opportunities. And this liberal feminist perspective gives different evidences. For example, how the participation of women in different spheres, politics, markets, economy, it has increased in countries like US and Europe. So they give these examples. These are the evidences that liberal feminist perspective works. So progress is gauged by the number of women in positions which were previously dominated by men, especially the powerful positions in countries like US and the Western countries, the European countries. So you don't need to bring about changes in the entire social structures. You just need to bring about changes in certain laws, policies, which will increase the opportunities for women, and this can bring about change. Liberal feminists, they have been focusing on multiple issues. They have been focusing on reproductive abortion rights. They have been focusing on issues like sexual harassment. Women face these kind of issues. They have been focusing on education of women. They have been focusing on voting rights for women, equal pay for equal work. Men and women should be provided equal wages if they are contributing equally. Affordable health care, affordable child care, all these things are important. Now, if child care is affordable, if health care is affordable, then what will happen? Women don't need to work within the household for providing child care activities, for child rearing. So they can purchase it. There can be specialized institutions like crèche facilities which will provide child care if you are able to afford it. So women will, instead of taking care of the child themselves, they will leave their child with specialized institutions when they're working, so they can go out and work and their children can be taken care by crèche facilities. So all these things are important, and liberal feminists, they take up these issues. Now, apart from liberal feminism, another kind of feminism is black feminism. Now, what does this mean? Now, black feminism, or the thinkers who belong to this school of thought, they feel that sexism, class oppression, racism, they're all linked together. You should be tackling everything together. If you are uplifting black women, that means you are targeting racial bias, you are targeting class oppression, you are also targeting sexism. Because black women, they face all these things: sexism, class oppression, as well as racism. So, black feminism, they believe in this, and black feminism also gave rise to what is referred to as womanism, Alice Walker's womanism. Now, what is this? Now, the early feminist movements that we saw, first wave, second wave, all these things, now, they were based on the experiences of primarily the white middle class women or the upper class women. And they're white and they're upper class, or they had not taken up issues related to oppression which is on the basis of race and class. So the feminist movement in the initial phases, they only talked about the experiences of white women, and that too who belong to the middle classes or the upper classes. So the experience of a black woman and the experience of a white woman is different. The experience of a black woman and the experience of a upper class, middle class woman is different. Black feminism takes up the issues, all these issues together. So black women face a more intense kind of oppression. That is what is taken up here, and it tackles all these three things together: classism, racism, as well as sexism. Apart from black feminism, another school of thought is post-colonial feminism. Now, what do we mean by post-colonial feminism? We already know what is colonialism. You would have read it in history in details. We ourselves, we Indians, were also subjected to colonial powers. Britain ruled over India for a very long period of time. And after that, Britishers left. Independent India came into being. So we are also a post-colonial state. Now, colonial experience, for example, when India was subjected to the British rule, that was the colonial experience that we had. Now, that colonial experience would have led to marginalization on multiple grounds. Women at that point of time would have been marginalized, and what will be the dimension of the marginalization that they are facing? They would have faced racism, they would have faced ethnic oppression, and they would have also faced classism. They belong to a different class, they belong to a different ethnicity, they belong to a different race. So, colonial experience would have led to marginalization of women along all these lines. So, the post-colonial societies that have formed, the women in these societies would have faced all these things. Now, post-colonial feminists, they try to understand this. Apart from this, now, post-colonial feminists, they object to the portrayal of women of non-Western societies as passive and voiceless victims, and portrayal of Western educated women as modern, educated, and empowered. Generally, it is portrayed that the women in the Western countries, in US or the European countries, they are considered to be educated, empowered, and modern, and it is always assumed that women in all these post-colonial states, they are voiceless, they are marginalized. It might not be correct. So the post-colonial feminists, they object to these kind of portrayals. Apart from that, they are critical of universalization of female experience. Now, in 1940s, 50s, at this point of time, the colonial powers, they are leaving many of the colonies that they had been ruling for a very long period of time. The Second World War, that took place. And after that, what happened? United Nations is coming into being. Now, United Nations one of the role of United Nations is to track the social progress of different countries. So it is now designing different parameters to track the progress of different countries. Now, they are also trying to track the progress of women in different countries. Now, when you are designing these parameters, on what basis you are trying to design the parameters? In United Nations also, the Western countries, they are dominating. So the parameters that they are designing, it is also on the basis of the experience of the Western countries. So what you are trying to do here is you are trying to universalize the experience of Westerners. So you are trying to measure the progress of women in the post-colonial states on the basis of parameters which have been developed by the Western countries. So the post-colonial feminists, they will criticize it. They will say that you should not use same parameters. The experience of women in post-colonial state will be different. You should not use Western parameters to measure this. Colonial powers often impose these Western norms on the colonized regions. And the cultures are also different. The culture of a post-colonial state, the culture of the colonies and the culture of the Western state will be different. Western countries will be different. So they should not be treated equally. So this is what post-colonial feminists they talk about. Apart from that, one thing also you need to keep in mind. Now, in a colony, which is being ruled by a colonial power, now when the colonial power is ruling a colony, sometimes it might happen that the colonial power is trying to impose, it is trying to create some laws, it is bringing its own ideas, values, and it is trying to create a law out of it, and it is trying to enforce it on the people of the colony. Now, sometimes what can happen is the colony, the people who are part of that region, the colony, now they might have some sexist rules, regulation, norms. Now, they are not happy with the colonial powers, and the colonial power is reinforcing its norms, its own values. Now, sometimes the colonies will try to oppose it, whatever law is being put on them, imposed on them. And this opposition can lead to the sexist structures, reinforcement of the sexist structures. For example, in case of India, let's say the Britishers are trying to draft a law. In India, Sati was there, the Britishers are trying to draft a law for abolition of Sati. But people here in India, they will be against Britishers. So whatever the Britishers will be doing, they will try to oppose. So there will be resistance to a law created by Britishers to reduce inequality between men and women. So this is also something which is analyzed, studied by the post-colonial feminist. So colonial oppression may result in glorification of pre-colonial culture. Before the colonial powers came into being, there might have been some sexist structures which might get glorified after the colonial powers are coming into being. So inequality can get increased because of colonization. This is also something post-colonial feminists have been studying. Apart from this, there is something which is called as third world feminism. Now, what is this? Now, again, third world feminists, they criticize Western feminism for being ethnocentric. What do we mean by ethnocentric? It is that particular view. Like you have a particular world view, it is on the basis of your own region or your own culture. So let's say I am an American, I am judging African culture on the basis of my own cultural system. So that is called ethnocentricity. So Western feminism is ethnocentric. They do not understand the diversity. They will compare the different societies on the basis of their own views, their own cultures, their own belief system. Unique experiences of women from the third world countries, that is not taken into consideration. There might be feminism of a different form in a third world country that is not recognized. Only their own school of thought, the Western school of thought, will be used to gauge feminism in other countries. So unique experiences of women from third world countries, existence of feminism indigenous to these third world countries, they are not recognized. So third world feminism tries to recognize the indigenous feminist movements in third world countries. It tries to collate the unique experiences of women in third world countries. Apart from that, there is another form of feminism that is called as multiracial feminism, women of color feminism. So it takes into account the lives and experiences of women of color. So feminist movement should not be only on the basis of experiences of white women, upper class, middle class women. It should be on the basis of the experience of women from different backgrounds. Women who are black, women who are yellow, women who are from the lower classes, upper classes, middle classes, everything. This is something which is emerging late. It is emerging in the 90s. So these are the different schools of thought. Apart from all these schools of thought, another prominent type of feminism has been gaining ground in the last few decades. It is referred to as ecofeminism. Very important. Has been asked in sociology optional, can be important from the general studies perspective as well. These kind of questions are asked because these are the things which are in the news. What is the meaning of ecofeminism first? Here you can divide this thing into two parts: ecology and feminism, environment and feminism. Now, ecofeminism, what does it do? Ecofeminism connects the exploitation and domination of women with that of the environment. That means man tries to exploit environmental resources. Man has been trying to dominate environment. He's trying to control environment. Man is also doing the same with women. He tries to exploit women. He tries to dominate women. So, ecofeminism tries to understand this connection. So, what ecofeminism says that in the society there is a patriarchal system. Patriarchal system is the root of these kind of exploitation of both women as well as environment. The patriarchal system leads to power in the hands of man. It is the man who controls land, who owns land. Man uses land for his own profit, for his own success. Women are also exploited by women for their own profit, success and pleasure. So man exploits land, man also exploits women for his own benefit, for his own profit, for his own success, for his own pleasure. Women and environment have always been perceived as a passive voice, as passive pawns. So man has been trying to dominate. He's racing, he wants to dominate, he wants to reach a particular level of success. For that, he feels that he needs to domesticate both the land, that means the environment, as well as women. So this is the meaning of ecofeminism. Now, ecofeminists have a particular solution, or they give some suggestions what can be done. Ecofeminists feel that women must work towards creating a healthy environment. Apart from trying to create healthy environment, what women have to do? Now, women must try to end destruction of lands. Now, if destruction of land can be arrested, how can women benefit? Women are more dependent on land. If destruction of land is arrested, women's life can be better, and indirectly the life of the family can be better. For example, how women and nature are connected. Now, in case forests are destroyed, the source of fuel for the family can get impacted. It is women who are the ones who are so if forests are destroyed, the land is destroyed, now women have to go for longer distances. So they get impacted. If nature is impacted, the source of water gets depleted. Now women are generally the ones who will be going to collect the water. So now they have to go for longer distances. So if nature can be protected, if destruction of nature can be arrested, destruction of land can be arrested, women might lead a better life. One of the most prominent ecofeminists is Vandana Shiva. She tries to give us an important feedback, or she tries to analyze the connection between women and nature. This entire paragraph that you see is from her work. So exactly what she says. She says that women have a very special connection with the environment. Every day they get integrated with the environment. There is an interconnection, and there is this daily interaction between women and environment. So how is it? So Vandana Shiva says that women in subsistence economies, producing and reproducing wealth in partnership with nature. First part. So women in partnership with nature, especially in the subsistence economies. We're not talking about US, we're not talking about the European countries, we're talking about subsistence economies. So women in these economies, they create wealth in a partnership with environment. Second part, women, they refers to women here, they are expert in their own right of holistic and ecological nature knowledge of nature's process. So women have this capital. Women know the different processes in the environment. They have this knowledge. They have the ecological knowledge. But what is happening is, over a period of time, we are moving towards a capitalist reductionist paradigm. And this capitalist reductionist paradigm is challenging this knowledge. These alternative modes of knowing, which are oriented towards social benefits and sustenance, they are not recognized by the capitalistic system. The markets, the industries, they do not recognize it. They do not recognize the benefits of these processes. So this interconnectedness of nature, the connection of women's lives, work and knowledge, all these things are not recognized. How this interconnection between women and nature, how the knowledge that women have, all these things are not recognized. So the capitalistic system that we have, the markets that we have, it is leading to the devaluation of women's ideas, women's knowledge, the processes they're part of, the thing that they have accumulated over centuries. So this is something which is alarming. Vandana Shiva, ecofeminist, talks about this interconnection, how women and nature are connected, how women have this holistic idea, how they have this ecological knowledge, and how the capitalistic system is against it. But one thing here, ecofeminist approach, especially what Vandana Shiva, has also been criticized. Some say that it is quite naive. They have focused on these mystical connections between women and nature, and they have not focused on the actual conditions of women. This is more of a mystical thing that women and nature are connected. This might not be true. So this is the major criticism of ecofeminism. So this is about ecofeminism. Ecofeminism believes that there is a patriarchal system. The patriarchal system is a system in which man exploits land for his own pleasure, profit and success, and it is also man who exploits women. The interconnection between woman and environment exists, and this interconnection over a period of time is getting reduced or it is getting disconnected. The capitalistic system is not recognizing these integration, these interconnections. Criticism is it is more mystical in nature, and the actual condition of women is not being recognized by ecofeminists. So these are the different types of feminism and the different waves of feminism. Next, what we will do is we'll try to understand the evolution of feminism in case of India. Hello friends, welcome to Byju's classes. In today's session, we will be continuing our discussion related to